So this is my brief demonstration video on how Kubernetes works. This is going to be a tutorial that the people who documented the website created. It's called Hello Minikube, and this basically shows a brief demonstration on how to deploy an app with Kubernetes. I would have done this on my own personal machine, but currently I'm on a Windows machine, and the Windows subsystem for Linux does not actually allow for Kubernetes to work yet. So what I'm going to be using instead is this terminal right here, which is runs through Ubuntu, as you can clearly tell, on localhost, and it creates a cluster called Minikube that is submitted to the Kubernetes dashboard to deploy apps. As you can see, of course, the apps are enabled, Kubernetes is started, and yeah. So the first thing that we need to do is, of course, I've already launched the terminal, so we'll go ahead and launch up the Minikube dashboard. And in order to open it, so you can see exactly what it looks like, we go to port 30,000. And this is the Kubernetes dashboard, and as you can see, Kubernetes itself has officially been deployed underneath this cluster ID. So in order to create a new app, what would need to be done is using their CLI, or their central command line interface called kubectl. You can click on these commands and they automatically work. You use the kubectl create deployment to create the deployment called hello node, which is a previously created node for this tutorial from this URL. So we'll click on it, and it shows that the hello node has been created. We can view the deployments here, which is kind of similar to Docker, in which it shows that it's up to date, it's available, and it's just barely been created. It creates a pod, which is basically where the creation of said application has been made, where it creates the container. And kind of similar to Docker Hub, we can use the kubectl get events, which shows all of the different events that it did in order to actually create the deployment. This is another version of it, which is the configuration, which is kind of similar to the command that you can do off of Docker as well. And if we go to Kubernetes and refresh the page, we will actually see that it is currently created the deployment called hello node. This is a container called hello node. It hasn't officially, it's been deployed, but it can't actually be viewable until we create a service for it, and we do that by using a kubectl expose deployment hello node. This exposes the deployment onto port 8080, and then we can show that it actually worked because it created the original cluster ID for the Kubernetes itself down here, and then the hello node has a new cluster ID, this 10.1.1.10.92.115. So we can show that it is now officially worked. We click on this Minikube service to start the service, and then we can go over here, view on host 1. We'll go back, and we'll take note of this little number over here, 32.466. Let's type that in here real quick, 32.466. And this is the app. It's not very impressive, but this shows like the regular text of what an app would actually look like with Kubernetes. You can also add on different add-ons as well on here, such as a metric system, and they have like a whole list of different like add-ons you can use for Kubernetes if you wish. But for the purposes of this video, this is basically a very brief synopsis of how a real version of Kubernetes would work. And then, of course, in order to clean up the service, you would just delete the service hello node, which you need the service in order to actually view the app itself. So when I refresh it again, you'll notice it no longer works. And then we can delete the deployment, and it shows it's been deleted. We go back to the Catacode itself. We'll notice it no longer exists as soon as it's refreshed. See, no longer there. And we stop Minikube. And that's pretty much it. That's a brief overview of how Kubernetes works.